I've applied a double primer coat to have an idea of how the lighting on this figure will work. To make the most of that double primer coat, I'm going to make use of the darker and lighter areas. I'll paint the darker areas with extra dark green and the lighter areas with gunship green. This will ensure that the brighter parts will be in a lighter colour, while the most shaded parts will be in a darker colour. I'll then blend the two colours to create what will be my base colour. I'm going to start now by painting the lighter areas. Now I'm going to paint the parts you can see in black with the extra dark green. As you can see, there is a huge difference between one colour and the other. However, I'll deal with that transition when I start blending the two together. As you can see, I'm not worried about my brush strokes or about creating a clean separation between the colours. I'm simply adding the two colours, one for the medium tones and another for the areas in shadow. Now I have a basic outline of how my highlights and shadows need to be. To create a base on which to work the highlighting effects, I need to blend the two colours together. I'll mix them together on my wet palette and gradually reduce the mix to achieve a perfect colour gradient. I'm mixing the two colours and gradually reducing the combination. I'm painting the area where the two colours I used for this pre-highlighting come together. The brush strokes now need to go from the shadow into the brighter areas, and I'm gradually changing the mix of my two colours proportionally. Little by little, you can see that the two colours are blending together to remove any kind of sudden colour shift. I'll continue making the first colour lighter with the second, and carry on detailing the volumes. Bear in mind that this is just to create a base on which to work the highlighting effects later. Right, now I've got my base on which to work the highlights. To contrast with the cold green colour I've already applied, I'm going to add a warmer colour to the mix for a temperature contrast. I'm going to start by adding olive green to the mix. I'm starting to add highlights and more definition to the volumes. I keep on adding olive green to the mix and continue highlighting the volumes in general. At this point, I'm adding small dots in the transition areas that will add texture to the skin as well as smooth out those transitions. That texture makes the skin look quite realistic in the end. The skin is quite detailed now, with all its volumes well defined. Now it's time to create wrinkles, the final highlights, and the facial expression. To do that, I will add some final touches with a warm tone, much more yellow in this case, using the golden olive. I'll apply these final highlights with golden olive by creating small dot clouds for some texture in the areas with the brightest highlights. For those maximum highlights, I'm going to add a bit of skin tone to the surface by using a colour with a lot of yellow, as well as some pink, which is this sunny skin tone. I need to be very careful when adding the sunny skin tone because it also contains a lot of white. I'm going to add tiny flecks of light to distinguish certain areas, especially on the face. Now I'm going to start adding shadows to all the muscles and skin on my figure. For that, I'll start with a complementary colour for green, which is red. A red that also contains a lot of black. Besides adding some tone to the skin, this will also add some shadows. You need to use this with a lot of water, like a glaze. So take the paint and dilute it properly. The process is simple. Starting from the mid-tones, push the paint towards the area most in shadow, and do the same on all the muscles. There will be parts where you paint more and other parts where you paint less. Basically, the lower you get on the figure, the more you will be painting. I'm gaining a lot of definition here because I'm adding saturation to the shadow while also adding tone to the skin. I'm adding a reddish tone that, being a complementary colour for green, provides a very natural shadow. I'm going to carry on with my shadows using an even darker colour now. For that I'll be using a colour with very strong pigmentation, this dragon blood. This is also a very dark colour. So I'm going to do the same as before, but this time painting even less of the surface area. You might choose to just add dots in those areas you can't access very easily to avoid going overboard or damaging the paint. And here you can see the final result on my orc skin for this Turok figure. As you can see, some very eye-catching results can be achieved with only a few colours. I hope you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for more.